We ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We appreciate you waiting, and we know your time's valuable. We have some good news on COVID paid leave, and we want to pass out a memorandum of understanding that is fresh off of the press from our discussion with the board.
Just as a point of clarification, do I need to pull out the previous copy, or is there?
No.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty clear
Where it's different?
Yes. Okay. It's what we decided, because yours has so many issues that may not be able to finish tonight. We decided to make a one-page something that we could hopefully agree on, and then we can make progress or finish the other one.
There's one for her.
So I mean, it has a tonight solution. If we combine them, we could get caught up in something else on the multiple page one.
Okay.
So that's just a suggestion. I've seen it work. We would like to do both. The highlight of this, it's a new 10 days as of July 1. So we're going to retroactive if somebody was out, if someone's out in August or July and they had to use their leave, and they could submit the documentation, we will backfill, because there has been a few people. And so we want to take care of that issue for the retroactivity piece. This is personal, just personal COVID leave. This is not like the federal leave, where if your grandma's home or if your child's home or if everyone else, there's all these different reasons. This is for the teacher and the teacher's issues. We did not, some districts separated and said only vaccinated teachers get this to try to reward vaccinated teachers. We're going to do it for everyone. We don't want that issue to be amongst our ranks. We have enough stress with COVID, with masks and everything else. But that is going around, that issue's going around. This is for everyone, regardless of status, the 10 days. The burden will be on the employee to submit this to HR, they'll approve, but they'll have 30 days after they come back. We don't want an employee with COVID trying to get a doctor note.
Yeah.
So we're going to give them time. We trust our employees. There was not an abuse last year in this district. I can say there were some games in many districts, like at hunting season, the COVID leave went way up because of some unknown relative. They took 10 days and went hunting. I mean, we know this from their own Facebook pages. That did not go on here, and we're proud of that. This also, you won't, if you don't need the full 10 days, you can keep coming back. If you have to get tested and you're out a day, this would cover that day. It's not your day to get tested.
Not like a personal day.
Yes.
Within the 10 days.
Yes.
You could use a day here.
Yes. And that's more realistic than positive, folks. I hope we captured that somewhere in here. If we haven't, we can spell it out.
So for the portion that talks about number 1 under additional terms, then it excludes care for children and other family members. Is there anything in terms of the sick bank for caregivers that has been taken into consideration that would account for that?
No, this would be normal, like family medical leave or other laws are out there that you can have time to care for your elders, but it's going to be on your balance. But you will have protected leave, like say, if you're caring for anyone for any extended time, I believe it's 3 days or more for family medical leave.
Yes.
You qualify just like you would 2 years ago. If a spouse or a child or somebody is ill and you need 3 weeks, you get the guarantees under that federal law that your job's not going to be taken in retaliation, all that other good stuff that goes with the federal laws.
Right, and I think the concern about that was not necessarily about,
Now, whether your current sick leave bank allows that, we're not touching the current sick leave bank. So I don't know whether your current sick leave bank, we have not altered under your proposal.
They would be allowed to use sick leave if that kind of thing.
Okay.
so just for a point of clarification, the current sick leave bank could be utilized for the caregiving if someone had to.
When you say bank, you're just talking about the person's personal balance.
No.
And what are you talking about?
He wants a sick leave bank that you have to have
That
doctors
you
and
donate
People
people.
submit a
5 days
day,
unpaid,
that
and then
puts
you go
them
to
in a
actual sick
leave
bank.
That allows them.
If in 2019, if your child was ill for
Yeah.
2 weeks and you were in the sick leave bank, were you allowed to use it for your child's illness or just your illness? That I don't know.
Just your illness.
That's what it's
And so
saying.
that's,
That's what we're proposing. Or keep that the same, and then this is brand new.
Yeah, I guess, Scott, be specific. Are you saying, what I think you're asking for is you're saying you wanted some type of leave that would help people who have to care for their kids. If the
Yes.
school is closed, this does not speak to that. This
and
is
that's
10
why
days,
I'm
right?
asking if that was taken into consideration because it was the last part of our proposal.
Yes, everything
Well,
was,
yes,
everything was taken into consideration. This was a Herculean effort
yes.
to come to a solution from where we were last time. No, check, no, check, no to this document. It's not everything you want. We understand that, but we're trying to compromise in good faith in a difficult time. We're not, caucus, think about it. I can't say this is the best I can get out of this board over a long period of debate with a lot of various issues going around in many districts. There's a lot of various issues and people not dividing, but people picking vaccinated versus non-vaccinated. So it could be a lot worse than this document. Of course you want more. That's the nature of what I get it.
Well, I don't
This
think
will
it's so
cover the
much
new
want
teacher.
more.
You had a great point with the new teacher the last time. That hit home, that the new teacher has 4 days, first week quarantine. They're on their own. It's a good idea. I mean, that was a good example. I've already used it in several other districts to try to convince folks that there is a need for even if it's a few, there's a need. And then once you get the need established, sometimes
The other issue is people who used COVID leave last year. So like say, for instance, you exhausted it, but if we had extended it, there would be teachers that would not be able to have carried over anything, wouldn't have any time. Whereas this gives everyone the same playing and level playing field.
Right, and that's
So,
part of
can I
what
ask
we
a
were
question?
looking for because we knew that it was a brand new year with completely different circumstances.
right.
The one thing I do want to make sure is that if the portion that was about first-year teachers was taken into consideration, the reason for, and it doesn't cost the district anything for the sick leave bank if people provide it other than the issue of administering it, is that our teachers have families too that will then be negatively impacted by this process. And although, yes, we will strongly take into consideration the proposal that's here, we have families. We're not, that will interrupt the instructional continuity and other things. And it's not so much about 30 days and will I lose my job? It's more of how am I going to pay my bills when I have to take care of my child?
I fully
And so
understand.
those are the things that we're trying to take into consideration with that aspect.
Legitimate, I understand it.
With that, do you want to go ahead and copy?
Do you want to ask her?
Oh, sorry.
Right.
Yeah, so my question was from the last year. Let's say we did not use COVID leave. Am I still able to use it this year?
No, you're getting, it's a fresh start, 10 days, same amount of time last year.
So if you use 9 days last year, you get 10 now. But we
But if we
toyed,
didn't use it last year.
Right,
It's
but many
gone.
people didn't use it back.
many didn't. I mean,
This is just a
thankfully,
fresh start for everyone. There were some people who used it, all of it,
There
and then
should
some.
be less people using this because of the vaccine. However, we know it's not bulletproof.
Breakthrough, right.
My sister knows proof. I mean, this is everywhere.
So before we caucus, the question is, if there were funds that were provided for the leave of individuals and they did not utilize that leave, meaning they did not use the days that were afforded to them from the CARES Act.
There were not
For-
funds from the CARES Act.
So it's more of a rebate.
No.
No,
I'm trying to understand
Is
were
that-
funds given to the district. for
No.
the leave and-
No.
That's what I'm trying to.
only,
I get, it's just an explanation. 'cause
sure,
other
I'll give you an
people
explanation.
want to make sure we have
The,
it all
the
squared.
private sector got an immediate tax credit in the next payroll section. Like, we had a bunch of folks go out in Miami. The very next payrolls, we got to deduct that amount of money from our payroll taxes and we were good to go. Public sector, nothing. Then they said you can voluntarily extend it to the last day. It started March 31st. That was a voluntary thing. And if private sector does, we're going to give you your tax rebate. Public sector, you're on your own. And then there was just pure gratitude to extend it to June. Most people didn't. And so there's nothing giving us, there's no bank or something to borrow to get from. There's no credit, there's no balance like she thought. Is it confusing? Yes, it's brand new. I mean, that CARES Act came out, it's only about 1,000 pages. But the bottom line, there's nothing in the district left over from last CARES Act for COVID leave. I can say that with confidence, talking to Kim, talking to a lot of other CFOs.
All right, well, we'll caucus,
Okay.
and take it into consideration. Thank you. All right, there are a couple of things that we need just to clarify to make sure that we understand, because we'll start with number one at the very top when it talks about board hired in a leave eligible position, because there's concern for our hourly employees that are not eligible necessarily to leave. What will happen those individuals and their lost pay? And how does that impact them when we just say eligible?
Well, it's just like sick leave. They're just not eligible.
Is there anything prohibiting from extending it to how many people are in this position only, I guess is the question. How many folks are we talking about that it could not be extended to all instructors? Since they are working in these conditions.
I'll just say this. I'll just say there's certain benefits employees get and with respect to health insurance, with respect to all kinds of things, depending upon the type of job they're in. This is the universe that the board has authorized us to cover for this 10-day period.
Is there an estimated number of hourly employees that we have in instructional staff only?
I don't have that number.
From Skyward report, it's probably about 15 people based off of what's at ACE. And then maybe some folks at Lively, and that's about it. So
we're covering 99% of your employees.
yes,
One way to look at it.
one way to look at it. And then it's also a way to look at people that are being asked to work in these conditions that they don't have a contract, which then means that when they can't work because of quarantine, and then they're out money, which means then they can't pay their bills.
I understand that we cannot pay everyone's bills. We're trying to do the most we can for 99% of the group.
Okay, so an additional clarifying question is in number 2 where it says positive, test positive for COVID-19 or experience symptoms of COVID-19. There was the part that was discussed about people that were being asked to go get tested. They're not experiencing symptoms and they're not having COVID. So are we putting a comma and asked to test? Because that was one of the examples that was provided by your side.
Ask that again, Scott, one more time.
So it says that test positive for COVID-19 or experiencing symptoms of COVID-19, but it doesn't speak to, if someone is required due to an exposure to be tested and they're not at work, but it was one of the examples that you provided. So then do we need to add that portion as an example, which because it's not listed here on the MOU.
We can. I thought it was listed in 4 on the bottom, but it's not quite there.
So
It was for a person quarantined, but this is quarantine with symptoms.
So when someone has to go get tested, they're not going to be eligible for these 10 days? But
No, we want to make them eligible. So
Okay.
we will agree to redefine to include that.
Okay, that's why I just wanted to make sure
Sure.
we had discussion and wanted to
agree.
be on the same page. The other piece was into the additional terms. And just saying that no later than 30 days upon return, that you're talking about working days, calendar days. What is it that the intent is? We normally default to working days when dealing with grievances, and it's not clearly defined. So I just want to make sure that
Well, because it's a reimbursement, they'll probably want it the sooner the better. I would think it'd be calendar days because they're going to want to be reimbursed faster.
we just want to make sure that we're communicating.
Sure. No, I
Yeah.
understand. I've been accused of not. Direct days to meeting.
And then number 3, it says that it's retroactive to July 1st, 2021. And the only people that would have been working July 2021 would be hourly employees.
Well, this applies, the COVID leave is not going to be only given to your unit.
What
It's gonna
about
be
your
given to all.
guidance? Don't you have guidance?
Guidance don't work over.
No, they're given hours over the summer.
Yeah, it's,
All right.
it's an hourly rate.
So this would apply to, we have people that are effective July 1. It goes to all employees.
Okay, so now here's an example just to go. So if somebody is under contract in the way that this is written, right? And I'm a guidance counselor or I'm a teacher that works at the juvenile detention center, and I had to quarantine in my hourly position in July, I'm not eligible to be reimbursed. It would only be when I'm under my contract of August to June,
Correct.
or end of May.
Correct.
And that those hourly individuals that are still working in the capacity instruction based off of the MOUs that Atlanta County Schools enters into are not eligible for COVID leave, even if they have additional days left over.
Say again? Scott?
So for example, you know, when we normally have our time off at, you know, the winter holiday, there are individuals that still work, like our juvenile detention center. And if that person then gets quarantined as an hourly rate person in that capacity, then that person's not eligible for the COVID leave in the way that it's written, because you have to be under contract. Or does being under contract and working hourly cover you to be able to use those? Just asking for clarification.
So you're saying a teacher is a traditional teacher during the year, but then they do additional hourly work during the winter holiday season?
Holiday season or part of that summer piece, are they still eligible under those time frames when they
Are they in a
hourly?
leave? Are they in a leave eligible position?
They are, and then they aren't at the same time, because your foot's
You're
in two
not
different
accruing
worlds.
leave during those times.
So
I don't think that's the issue, though. I think they're
It's the same thing he's
Yeah,
looking
but
at.
you wouldn't take leave. If you wouldn't take leave, you just wouldn't get paid.
Right,
right.
So
Right.
it's not leave eligible during the
Right.
summer.
Let me think. We'll have to think about that.
I guess give me an example. Give me a position. Brett and Angie, because I don't know any teacher that, I don't, the people who work in the, like Kim, your position used to do that. You used to work at the detention center, correct?
Mhm.
You were an hourly teacher. You were not contracted. You were not accruing leave, is what I'm saying at that time. Are you asking about Kim's former position?
no, I'm asking about the individuals that, like, for example, and I don't know if Martina wants to speak to it, but she works at Leon as a contracted teacher, but then there's also some adult community ed stuff that's at an hourly rate. And so if she's sent quarantining home in the hourly rate, is she not covered now?
No,
as
that's
she would have
that's
at
just
Leon?
like
I
kind
just
of like
wanna
a
make sure.
Yeah, she would,
What
yeah.
about the teacher over the summer that's doing the reading academy or the ESE all year round?
But that's hourly as needed work over the summer.
That's
Yeah,
hourly. as
that's
needed
hourly.
too.
Right, but she's under a contracted position. I guess I'm confused as to why you're bringing those two examples. Yeah,
So if they're a teacher during the school year, but they're doing additional hourly work, you're saying they're covered.
Yeah, like
Yes.
if they do land virtual also.
yeah.
But then once the school year ends at the end of August, and one of our individuals that's the juvenile detention center, since it goes to June 30th, gets asked to quarantine or COVID, they're not covered at that point just for the month of June, just from August to May.
The contract was covered during the-
Yeah, 196 days, and the teachers are paid all through the summer, you got a 12 months, so, say it again, Brett?
I think we can double it. I would think that we would pay them during the 196 days, which is the contract, but if they're hourly and they're working 2
It's a
hours a
separate-
day,
yeah.
it's separate.
Yeah,
So are you asking that we come up with every year a separate summer MOU?
no, because we're
No.
talking about the COVID MOU, this is only dealing with COVID.
I'm projecting
Yeah,
out.
I'm projecting good health, good vibes for next summer. I'm hoping we're not in this position.
We have visitations all across the board.
Yeah.
So it's good.
And then I guess the other piece is in terms of this, we'd like to counter two things as a part of this particular one. In terms of Leon County School District will offer up 10 days. We'd like to make it 12, given the circumstances of the entire year. And then additionally, for our hourly individuals that seem to be excluded from this, not saying they're going to need it, or other individuals that may have extenuating exposures. For example, we have some high opt-out schools of masks that are going to have a greater chance of those individuals being quarantined and being sent home. So we're asking for an additional 100 days to be used at the discretion of labor and employee relations to help mitigate those particular situations that may occur.
Okay, I have authority to say no to the additional days because believe me, 10 was very difficult. I can say on Roman numeral number 1, little 2, we can say test positive for COVID-19, comma, experiencing symptoms of COVID-19 or directed to get tested and are waiting for test results. Something along those lines to cover the test results.
That's correct. Okay.
All right, let's talk briefly.
Can-
All right, we will have a printed counter to you. And the Roman numeral 1, small double I, that's what we're calling it. We will add at the end, or directed to get tested by the COVID czar, which is what we have, and are waiting for their test results. We think that's going to be a much faster experience. We're hoping soon instead of a day. They're working on that. We also will put 30 calendar days to make it clear on the second one. We cannot agree to 12 days or 11 days or 10 and a half.
10 and a quarter.
10 in an hour, 10 in 10 minutes. And we can't agree to the 100 days. We're not saying anything's unreasonable. We're just saying where we were was nothing.
They would like to ask the board's hesitation on giving COVID leave for their employees.
There's not hesitation by the board. There's not hesitation by the board. I will say there was miscommunication and a focus on other issues that the board was focusing on at the time. And I could say, if I had to do it all over, I would have re-emphasized how important this is to your unit. But there was this is the only district that had the other distraction in place that was a 24-hour, around the clock, bombarded by both sides issues. So other things, with the superintendent and the board, other things that are critically important to running a district just fell back. And deciding whether or not to take on the government, it was big. And so there was no hesitation. There's a variety of this lead going around in other districts. You've seen them. There's just a variety. There's a desire to try to reward vaccinated folks in some way. Someone did $200 from their health insurance. People are trying to find a way to get vaccinated folks. Nothing's working. Nothing's working. If you read the news now and you're still not vaccinated, you're just not changing. It's like religion. You're not going to bargain away your religion. And we can't find a way to change that. But at the time, a couple weeks ago, there were other stressors on real life folks. That's all I can say. That you have a limited time. I have a limited amount of time in front of the board, and then certain issues catch on fire. We convened a special meeting just for this. They came just for this. So it does mean a lot to them. I just want you to know that it was as stressful it is for you for opening day. They had that unique issue with everyone watching, around the state.
So Leonard, we do understand that there have been distractors, and that's what we want to get past. We want to get to these types of things that are going to impact the instructional staff, the learning conditions, the things that are there. The concern that we still have, if there were, so I'm noticing we're just staying at 10, we're not adding the 100 days or anything like that. And when it comes down to it, someone that was in they're a part of our bargaining unit. Whether they're 1% of our bargaining unit or not, the individuals that are hourly, that are being asked to work in these conditions, is of great concern. And when it comes down to it, if there were 100 days eligible by the labor employee relations for hourly people or anybody that was adversely over the top impacted, I think that would go a long way to making sure that the Leon County School Board would show that they value not just their contract teachers, but their hourly instructors as well. Because as I looked at the numbers, there's over 400 exemptions in Childs. There's over 200 over at Mumford. There are certain schools that have working conditions that are not like other schools where 10 may not cover it, depending upon that school's environment and what the choices of other individuals are. And that could negatively impact someone that works at one school that's not having to deal with it at another. And so that's why we're asking for really careful consideration on that part, for not only for hourly folks, but for those people that some schools, people get it. There's like 12 people that have opted out and everyone's trying to do their best possible job. And so
I can only say I just don't have the authority. And, you know, I just don't have the authority. I don't believe I would get that authority. If you're asking me to go back, this will be delayed significantly for a number of time reasons, for a number of time conflicts.
When are we, okay, so yes,
I just want to point out real quick that at an average salary of $40 an hour for 100 days, being 7.5, that's $30,000. That is a minor investment for our hourly and folks that could be impacted differently. Now, there's benefits on top of that. Go ahead and take your 19%, all that stuff, but we're still talking less than $40,000 to look out for folks that could negatively be impacted. And I know that from the way that Dina and Wallace are responsive in their office, that if there was somebody that found themselves in that position, they would take very careful consideration about the extenuating circumstances of somebody. And so that's why for those hourly people and for the individuals who could end up being at some of those other schools with increased exposure, it doesn't seem like a huge ask that would have to go back to the school board. But if it does,
So
then
if
we'll
I
talk.
can answer the question for schools that may have more or less than others, that answer is it's 10 days. That answer, I have that answer. Let me take 5 more minutes.
That bothers me. So you love that. Tell you love that?
I get because
Ask Scott, does he know that? Ask him, does he know that? Scott, listen to
You
this.
don't say improper fraction. You say fraction greater than 1.
Yes, that's the new way of saying it.
Yeah.
No.
decompose a fraction.
Oh, God.
You have to
It's
decompose
reduce it.
the
It's
fraction.
reducing a fraction.
Nope, it's decompose.
Oh my God, I could not.
Because
It is reducing a fraction. It is improper fraction.
Don't borrow, there's no borrowing anymore.
Oh, it's regrouping.
No, it's not even grouping anymore. It's something totally different.
We're still on sick days?
Yeah.
I say.
We're on sick days. Here we go.
See?
All right, Leonard, we're on the same page here. So I will need a clean copy of the.
I have one. I have 2.
Need 2. So at this particular time, what we're gonna do, double checking.
That's it.
There it is.
We have it.
What I suggest is we could come to agreement on this, like we thought we would have a counter with more counters from you in COVID, because I know you have sick leave bank issues, you have other issues that we couldn't address here inside your larger MOU. So we'll give you our counter and then we'll deal with that the next time, which could include any negotiable topic, concerns that you have. We're trying to get the greater good out.
So can we pick a Dave, do you have another?
So what we would like to do, just
Sure,
because
go
I
ahead.
know that there are some other concerns that deal with COVID. But we also are understanding that you have a number of other locals that you negotiate with and for. But what we would like for consideration to be is that if we can meet next Wednesday with a counter and then have the school board take a look at that by the following Wednesday, so that by the time we're done, so that we have a plan over the next 2 weeks to try to come to some agreement on the other things in the MOU that we have not been able to settle.
I can do first thing on.
So I have to be at Bradford at 3.
We can do Wednesday morning.
Yes, it would have to be like, and I couldn't get tied up. Like,
No, I only have from 9 to a couple hours in the morning on Wednesday.
I could do 9 and we could pull some folks in.
Did you hear 9?
I heard.
I can do 9 to 11.
But let me tentatively, I'm gonna send,
Tentatively, send us a notice.
We'll do it tomorrow once he confirms.
And we will go from there, but the idea is.
what's the date of that?
That would be the 25th, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it's the 25th.
What's this?
Just deleted an email and said
Can we
sending
sign
it.
3?
If you shake it, sometimes it's,
Oh, I don't
You
know.
sign 3
That
copies.
is fine.
should sign,
I'll keep it.
You
We
did-
have it.
you saw
I,
three.
that was me.
Okay,
There's
that's
two.
fine.
And I
You want
signed.
to give me this back? Sure.
Yeah.
Here you go. I have that one back.
Keep that going.
He passes it over, I sign.
We can worry about the dates at another time, but we just wanted to
I'll
say,
try to get Wednesday at
Wednesday.
9.
Wednesday at 9,
Did you bring,
I got it.
What's the date again?
the 25th.
and while you're doing that, just clarify that the teacher lead money or the classroom assistant supply money will be direct deposited, and there's been some questions as to when that might end up in the accounts of instructional staff.
yeah, and I can better confirm the date. I know that we have, when I say we, the district is supposed to comply by the 30th of September. But I don't want to tell you the 30th of September if they think it's gonna be out within the next couple of weeks. So if
but
we
at least
respond
by
tomorrow,
30th of
yes,
September.
oh, yeah, yes.
That's all the copy.
Well, what do you want? Did you? So the other ones we didn't give you?
The DA school ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you sign those so I can get,
If you have the copies right.
yeah, yeah.
And just in terms of the DA schools, part of the discussion that we had last time, for everyone to understand, there was part that said 125 or 1.25 hours. That 1.25 hours is for the week, and that's 15 minutes additional in student contact time that people are being paid for. So at those school sites, it is 315 minutes student contact time. They're paid at their hourly rate, and then they're paid additional the 45 minutes during that course of the week for planning.
Okay. Yes. We're doing 2 copies, so we're following the, everybody having an original for the good of the order.
You sign them all, then I'll sign them.
You got that? In the black one? Take this over too? Mm-hmm. Wait a minute, you take this one too, sorry. Thank you, dear. This one has to be done too. Yeah,
That one too?
there you go. It's 2 copies of each.
And I think the part of confusion that was part of this was that in the other documents that we received, it said 1.25 hours a week, and this one didn't say week, and that was what the pause for concern was.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do is, Mr. Dietzen, for the good of the order,
Okay, man.
I'll get brand new real quick. Do you want me to send this electronically to them, or do you want to give it some now and I'll send it like a Word version?
Both, yeah.
Okay, can I make sure that's the right copy? Have it crossed out.
Yeah.
Yeah, see.
This is what happens.
Okay. No,
I'm sorry. No.
I already crossed them out. Anyway. I crossed out 8. I just haven't crossed them out yet. That's why I made sure. Don't lie.
You know, we want the better version if you're having to look through them, because obviously there's two.
Don't start. Not today. Not today.
Well, I'm gonna need to go.
Here it is.
One's cleaner, it's not better.
Leonard, I'm not, here. Sharon, that is for, counter? Yeah, so you can get them 2 copies. And here's your counter. Yep, did you cross it out, my dear? So I had to hand cross out that second. Right here. Okay, very good.
And this edited one.
Yes, we have to add to it. I have the original. Yeah, we already signed it. Yeah.
Big deal.
Oh, we got 30 calendar days.
Is there anything that, before we go, that you would like to speak to in terms of
The state
additional
running
things
to
that
sign
you
off.
talked about, give us any understanding?
I would like to say thank you for being patient for this 10 days. I think it's a win. I think it'll overwhelmingly ratify. It's not perfect, but that's what bargaining is. But thank you for your patience.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much.
So we'll confirm tomorrow. We'll send the Word version of that, and we'll confirm tomorrow, Wednesday, potentially at 9 a.m. Right?
Yes.
Okay, and then what else did you say? The Wednesday 9, and then that is Word form, right?
It's in Word form, and I think that
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.